Hi everybody. This is Briggs, sending you lots of love. I wish to share this video on the biggest lessons that I have learned this year of 2020 from the perspective of a starseed, I guess. And of course, please understand that this is being shared through my own experience of this year, of that which has reflected back at me in the holographic field. So I think the biggest lesson that I have learned this year is that of timelines. Timelines, and also, I guess, manifestation and the holographic experience, or the hologram that is reflecting back at us. Let me touch on timelines. Essentially, you know, this year is what we've all been waiting for, and by we've all, I am specifically speaking to the starseeds, the indigos, the crystals, those of us sitting in an ascension space as teachers, guides, and it has catapulted our ascension process. And I think we've all learned quite specifically about timelines and how to understand them a little better without being attached to the outcome, attached to linear time. And the reason why I share the story is, you know, one, because COVID was one of them, meaning we all understood immediately as this lockdown happened what was happening, why it was happening, how long into Earth's history this has been planned for, etc., etc. And I remember at one stage, I mean, very early on, I was already like, oh my gosh, they're going to come knocking to the doors. And I, you know, because we already know the outcome way before it's happened, based on our intuition, based on galactic history, etc., etc. So I think, you know, along with this timeline experience, it's asked us very boldly to hold a big space. So that's another lesson, I guess, holding an incredible space. All right, not being attached to the linear time with regards to the timeline perception that we know based on our intuition and the history. So that's the one thing very specific to COVID at that time. The next timeline was coming up to the solstice. The next timeline lesson for me was coming up to the solstice. This 21st of December 2020 solstice for me was a huge initiation and preparation space. Huge. I was holding, and I know we all have been, but I speak again to my personal story, I was holding a massive doom and gloom space, not intentionally, you know, in the essence that I understand and I'm aware of what is going on in the mental body, but the person that I was working with very closely, hand in hand, is a seer. She is a multidimensional seer of many timelines across many dimensions or densities, and it became a very ungrounded experience. So much so that it became the biggest lesson of all, you know. Very beautiful lesson of empowerment for me, of going, actually, this is all great. And yes, this is the ending, a death of the old, a reset. People are going to lose their minds. The financial institutions will and do fail. The medical institutions or the pharmaceutical industry, education, etc., etc., etc. The point I'm trying to make from a timeline perspective on Earth is that it doesn't happen immediately. And when you're working so intensely in the space, be careful not to be running so fast on the treadmill, in essence, being ungrounded, that you begin to believe that this is an instantaneous switch that happens, because it is not. Things take time in the evolution of time speeding up in the space-time continuum. Okay, so yes, they are speeding up. They are becoming magnified. It doesn't take as much time, but it's still not a now moment. And I know that a lot of you, a lot of us, I had as well, very prophetic dreams in terms of Earth literally imploding on herself and expanding again. These earthquakes, these volcanoes, and they will come. What I began to sort of move into my space, working at the intensity of gridding and anchoring in this solstice, was that it began to become my story that this was happening on the 21st. You know, that our 3 days of darkness may happen, you know, from the 14th, 15th, 16th, or 15th, 16th, 17th, over that solar eclipse time. What I also realize as well is that we are connecting with historical facts, connecting them to a 3D reality of linear time, when in fact these 3 days of darkness, for example's sake, could be days in a far more metaphysical sense, in a multidimensional reality, based on a time construct that we are not familiar with. Okay, so again, it's not going into those facts, but it's merely going, the lesson of timelines for me as an energy worker this year has been huge and profound. And as I said, it's asked of us to hold an incredibly big space, which has asked of us to be incredibly balanced, centered, and grounded. And it is asked of us to detach. I've also spoken about manifestation and magnification through this video, and I guess it's being detached and non-attached. And simultaneously, there was a point this year where I was going, you know, yes, this isn't ending, but how about I step into the quantum future in this now moment and begin creating the new reality that I wish to experience, the new reality of the space that I wish to hold space for, in essence, that I wish to live in. And that flipped the game for me as well, of going out of doom and gloom, this ending, this death, you know, possibly getting stuck in the birth canal, you know, all of these really, really intense metaphorical expressions of what is happening with Earth and Gaia. And yeah, it's been hectic. The other big lessons, like I'm just thinking back to the beginning of the video. So I mentioned timelines. I've mentioned holding a big space, which you know, I'm used to doing within my work, but this is way bigger because we're holding a collective space and possibly even moving into, you know, this a more galactic sphere as well. So that's been amazing. In my previous video, I mentioned the heart chakra and these pains that have been moving through that, and it's just like, what a teaching and what a lesson in terms of being the channel and transmuting, integrating, as well as simultaneously being a transmitter for this frequency and energy. So also a big lesson there. This is a big one. The lesson of the false light matrix really only hit home for me this year. And what a huge, huge, huge lesson. I'll actually probably do another video on this. I don't want to go too long on this, but it's been a profoundly magnificent lesson of such epic proportion that I cannot even put it into words. The, I guess, psychic attacks this year that I've experienced have been huge. Nothing that I ever thought I would experience in my space. But it has brought me so many teachings, of which I'm so grateful for. And in fact, makes me understand and know that I am on my path, because when you are working at this level and holding, or trying to, with pure intent, hold that amount of light, you are inevitably going to be attacked. And these attacks are when you are tested in your ascension pathway. And as terrifying as they have been hugely empowering for me, because it asks you to stand your ground based on the cosmic laws that you know, that you embody, and that you teach. Because this, my dear friends, is where we get tested. If you are going to teach it, you are going to have to embody it when that test comes. And the tests have been many. As I say, they've been big this year. Terrifyingly so, but as I say, in huge gratitude. And I give so much gratitude out to all of you as well, because I have no doubt, I know all of us have been tested. But when we are in awareness as to what we are being tested on and for, and at what stage, in a super aware and acute space of awareness on our ascension path, it becomes a very intricate and empowering space to be in. So yes, like I say, I think I will do another video on my false light experience a little further. So what else have been my big lessons of this year? Yeah, boundary work, as you guys know, just did that video on the sacred no. Oh yes, beautiful connections that I've never worked so closely with the energy of the sky before. Working with the star systems, the sky. In the evening, I'm usually working in a temple space that is covered and closed. My temple space has opened up now into more of a Gaia space, which again asks of you to hold a really big space when you're working with the entities of the earth, Gaia, the mountain, the clouds, the stars, the moon, this skyscape. It's a different ball game, particularly within a plant medicine space. And I guess I'll share this as well, coming to the end or the beginning, entering into the beginning. I am really aligning to the space of purity. There's been a lot of medicine work this year in many different ways. Medicine comes in many different forms. And I would like to move further into a space of purity, I guess, which the yogis would practice. And that's, to not have an intermediary between your communication with source or God, your source God, source experience. So I would like to play with that energy a little bit more, moving into our 2021 experience and expression. And yes, I am a medicine woman, but I'm also an ascension teacher and guide. So, it's really understanding that I have the coding of the consciousness of the mushrooms, for example's sake, within me, knowing that I can tap into that in a clear frequency, in a pure space, and really tap in, dialing that telephone to source or my galactic star families as an example, or my earthseed families, my bloodlines, my ancestors, and really tuning in and fine-tuning without any sort of intermediary assistance, I guess. So that's just a share on my big lessons for 2020, my beginning phase into 2021 of this pure connection and really purifying. I hope it goes well. yeah, just a quick one, a quick share. I'd actually stopped smoking tobacco. I have a huge addiction to tobacco. Although let me change that, put that into the quantum field. I've challenged myself here on camera. I honor tobacco as a grounding plant, knowing that it has had deep ancestral meaning for me. This great teacher has taught me many things. And I release the bond, stepping back into my sovereignty with my relationship with tobacco. So that's that. Back to the story, however, I had quit tobacco for a year after a big ceremony I did last year, a full year. And then I started again around about October, and it was glorious. It was glorious. It was so wonderful. I've come to a space of regaining my sovereignty again. It's a very sneaky addiction for me. And I guess it's asking me to look at the pain body, that second chakra. So yeah, and moving into the third, that sovereign space. And again, of course, of what I've just said is also moving into this space of purity. So wish me luck. I think I'm going to manage. Oh, the point I'm trying to make was, like I say, with this light that we are holding and working, these little pain body memories come back again, and you're like, oh, it's not going to be so bad. And we fall back into them very easily. And I think, again, while I'm working on my ascension, getting those ascension teachings out to you, I'm re-going through my course content, which has been amazing. So please sign up for those. They should be out soon. So please just recheck in on the videos and sign up and grab those Ascension Teachings Level 1, Level 2, Level 3 I'm not complete with yet. Super content, but yeah, just reading into those again and realizing, wow, this is what's happened. It's a negative agenda coming to play its story in my story again, and asking me to just check myself and make it happen, stepping back into sovereignty, calling all aspects of myself back. Anyway, guys, this is a long share, but a good one, a goodie. I hope you've enjoyed it, and lots of love to you. May we step into this new timeline with grace. Grace, as much grace as possible. Thank you.